That night, inside that crowded restaurant, my daughter lowered her head while tears fell onto the white tablecloth, and I understood that there are silences that kill. My name is Nancy Caldwell. I am 58 years old. I am a mother. I was a wife. And for a long time, I believed that keeping the peace in the family was the most important thing in the world. But that night, something broke inside me. It all started with a reservation, a family dinner to celebrate my grandson's birthday. It was one of those fancy downtown restaurants with linen tablecloths and lit candles at every table. My daughter Emily had insisted that we all go together, her husband Michael, his parents, and me. Since I became a widow 3 years ago, Emily always worries about including me. She is my only daughter, the light of my eyes, a sweet, educated woman with a brilliant career as an architect that she put on pause when my grandson was born. That night, I arrived early at the restaurant. I was wearing a navy blue dress that my late husband gave me for our last anniversary. In my purse, I had a handkerchief embroidered with my mother's initials. I always carry it with me. It is my connection to the women who came before me, the women who also learned to stay silent. Emily arrived shortly after. I saw her walk in on Michael's arm, and something about her face unsettled me. She was smiling, yes, but it was that tense smile that a mother recognizes from miles away. She was wearing a long-sleeved sweater, despite the heat of May. "Mom," she greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. Her lips were trembling. "Daughter, are you okay?" "Sure, Mom, just tired." Michael greeted me with that cold politeness that had always seemed strange to me. A handsome man, from a good family, successful engineer, the kind of son-in-law any mother would approve of. Or so I thought. Then Michael's parents arrived. Mr. Robert, a heavy-set man in his 60s with a raspy voice and rough manners. And Mrs. Linda, quiet always 2 steps behind her husband, with her gaze lost somewhere indefinite. We sat down. We ordered dinner. Everything was going normally until Emily made a mistake so small, so insignificant that it shouldn't even be called that. She ordered red wine instead of white. "Emily," Michael said with that controlled voice that freezes the blood, "you know perfectly well that I ordered fish. Red wine does not go with fish." "Sorry, honey, I didn't think." "You never think." The waiter stood paralyzed with the glass in his hand. "It doesn't matter," I intervened. "We can change it, right?" Mr. Robert let out a dry laugh. "Leave it alone, Nancy. Michael is right. Women today don't even know how to order a glass of wine." I swallowed hard. Emily lowered her gaze, and that was when I saw something that froze my soul. As she reached out to take the bread, Emily's sweater sleeve rode up just a few inches. Just enough. On her wrist, there were marks. Yellowish bruises trying to heal, fingerprints. My heart stopped beating for a second. Emily. She pulled her sleeve down, immediately covering herself with pleading eyes. "It is nothing, Mom." But I knew. A mother always knows. The dinner continued amidst forced conversations. I barely tasted a bite. I watched. Every gesture Michael made toward my daughter, every time she shrank slightly when he got too close, every cutting word disguised as a joke, and then the moment arrived. The waiter brought the wrong dessert to the table. A simple mistake. Cheesecake instead of tiramisu. Michael called the waiter with a snap of his fingers. "Is this how you work here? My wife ordered tiramisu." "Honey, it doesn't matter," Emily whispered. "I can eat cheesecake." "It does matter." Michael's voice rose in tone. "Are you always going to be this settled?" "Michael, please, you always embarrass me." And then it happened. In a quick, brutal movement, Michael reached out and grabbed Emily by the hair. He pulled her head back with force. The entire restaurant went silent. My daughter did not scream. She only let out a choked whimper while tears began to roll down her cheeks. And in that terrifying silence, Mr. Roberts' voice was heard. Strong, clear, applauding. "That is how it is done, son. That is how it is done. She has to know her place." Emily lowered her head. Her shoulders were shaking. Mrs. Linda looked at her plate as if nothing was happening, and I felt something inside me break, something that had been cracking for years. While I watched my daughter become smaller, more silent, more absent, my hands trembled on the table. My blood turned to ice. And then I did something. I stood up. Before I tell you what I did that night, I need you to understand something. I need you to know the Emily I raised, because what I saw in that restaurant was not my daughter. It was a shadow, a ghost of the brilliant woman she had been. Emily was born on a spring morning 32 years ago. She came into the world crying loud with her fists closed as if she already knew that life requires fighting. My husband Edward took her in his arms and told me, "This girl is going to change the world, Nancy. I can see it in her eyes." And he was right. Emily was always a curious girl, intelligent, persistent, the kind who takes toys apart to understand how they work, the kind who asks 1,000 questions and doesn't settle for vague answers. I remember at 8 years old, she built a birdhouse with pieces of wood she found in the garage. It wasn't perfect, but it had a solid roof and firm walls. "See, Mom," she told me proudly, "birds also need a safe place." She grew up loving architecture. She spent hours drawing houses, buildings, bridges. She said she wanted to create spaces where people felt protected, where they could breathe. She studied on scholarships. She graduated with honors. She got a job at one of the most prestigious firms in the city. She earned her own money. She had her own apartment, her own life. She was independent. She was happy. She was free. And then she met Michael. At first, everything seemed perfect. He was attentive, detail-oriented, polite. He arrived with flowers. He took her to dinner at fancy restaurants. He sent her sweet messages during the day. My daughter glowed when she spoke of him. "Mom, I think he is the one," she told me one afternoon while we drank coffee in my kitchen. I looked at her lit-up eyes and smiled. "If you are happy, daughter, I am happy." The wedding was beautiful. A garden full of white roses, a lace dress that Emily had designed herself, soft music, promises of eternal love. Edward had already passed away by then, but I felt his presence there. I walked with my daughter to the altar and gave her hand to Michael. "Take care of her," I said, "with my life." He replied, smiling. The first months were good, or at least that is what it seemed. Emily continued working, although Michael insisted it wasn't necessary. "I earn enough for both of us," he would say. "You can stay home, relax." "But I like my work," she replied. "Don't you like being with me?" Small phrases, small comments, nothing that seemed alarming at that moment. But the seeds of control were already planted. When Emily got pregnant, everything changed. Michael insisted she leave her job. "It is dangerous for the baby," he argued. "Too much stress, too many hours on your feet. You need to rest." Emily hesitated. She loved her career, but she also loved that baby growing inside her. "Maybe just for a while," she told me, seeking my approval. "After the birth, I can go back." "Whatever you decide, daughter, but don't let anyone decide for you." She smiled, but something in that smile was no longer the same. My grandson was born on a December morning. A beautiful, healthy baby with his mother's dark eyes. Emily named him Matthew like my father. Michael was euphoric. He organized a huge party to introduce the baby. He invited his whole family, his friends, his colleagues from work. Emily looked tired. She had a difficult delivery. She was still recovering, but Michael wanted to celebrate. "Just a couple of hours," he told her. "It is important to me." She agreed. She always agreed. I went to that party. I saw my daughter moving among the guests with Matthew in her arms, smiling politely, answering the same questions over and over again. "How is the baby? Does he sleep well? Are you breastfeeding?" Michael didn't hold his son a single time that afternoon. He was busy toasting with his friends, telling jokes, receiving congratulations. And I saw something in Emily's eyes I had never seen before. Exhaustion. But not physical exhaustion. Exhaustion of the soul. Weeks passed. Months. Emily did not go back to work. Michael said Matthew needed her at home, that a mother shouldn't leave her son with strangers, that she had studied so much, worked so much that she deserved to rest. Besides, he added, I earn enough. You don't need to work. Emily stopped mentioning her job. She stopped drawing. She stopped talking about her dreams. When I visited her, she was always cleaning something, cooking, organizing, taking care of Matthew. The house was spotless. Too spotless. How are you, daughter? I would ask her. Fine, Mom. Everything is fine. But I knew it wasn't. A mother always knows. I started noticing small things. How Emily checked her phone with anxiety every time it rang. How she tensed up when she heard Michael's car arrive. How she apologized constantly for everything. Sorry, Mom, the house is messy. Sorry, I didn't make enough food. Sorry, Matthew is crying. Sorry, sorry, sorry. As if her very existence was a nuisance. One day, I arrived without warning. I knocked on the door several times before Emily opened. Her hair was in a messy ponytail. She had deep dark circles under her eyes, a milk stain on her blouse. Mom, I didn't know you were coming. That is exactly why I came. I entered the house. Matthew was sleeping in his crib. Everything was silent. Where is Michael? At work. He has a lot of meetings this week. And you? When was the last time you left this house? Emily stayed silent. Then she shrugged. I don't need to go out, Mom. I have everything I need here. Everything. She avoided my gaze. I made coffee. We sat in the kitchen. I took her hands. They were cold despite the heat. Daughter, you can talk to me. You can always talk to me. I know, Mom. Are you happy? Silence. A silence so long, so heavy that I felt like I was drowning. I am tired, she finally replied. But all mothers are tired, right? It wasn't an answer. It was an evasion, but I didn't insist. Sometimes a daughter's silence is louder than a mother's questions. Months kept passing. Matthew grew. He learned to crawl, to walk, to say his first words. Emily dedicated herself to him completely, too completely, as if he were the only thing she had left. Michael worked more and more hours, or so he said. He arrived late. He left early. He traveled constantly for business. Emily didn't complain. She never complained. It is his job, Mom. He has many responsibilities. I watched my daughter fading away, how she stopped laughing, how she stopped dreaming, how she stopped being Emily, and I didn't know what to do. Because when a daughter smiles and says she is fine, a mother wants to believe her, needs to believe her, even if deep down she knows the truth. One afternoon while I was watching Matthew so Emily could rest, I found something. I was looking for a bib in the kitchen drawer when I saw an envelope hidden between the tablecloths. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside there were photographs Emily had taken of her own arms, of her wrists, of her neck, bruises, marks, evidence. My world stopped. I felt the floor opening beneath my feet. I put the envelope back exactly where I found it. I finished taking care of Matthew. I waited for Emily to wake up from her nap. When she came down the stairs, I looked her in the eyes. Daughter, I need you to tell me the truth. She turned pale. What are you talking about, Mom? You know what I am talking about. Her eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. It is not what you think. Then what is it? Michael is under a lot of stress. The work, the responsibilities, the pressure. Sometimes he loses control. But he loves me, Mom. He loves me. Love doesn't hurt Emily. All marriages have problems. These are not problems. This is violence. She hugged herself as if protecting herself from my words. I can't leave him, Mom. I have a son, a family. What will people say? What will his family think? And what about you? What about your life? My life is my family. I broke down. I knelt in front of her and took her hands in mine. Daughter, please. Come home with me, you and Matthew, just for a while, to think clearly. I can't, Mom. Michael needs me. He is going to change. He promised me. How many times has he promised you? Silence, that damn silence. Emily pulled her hands away and stood up. Thanks for watching, Matthew, Mom, but it is late. Michael will be home soon and I need to make dinner. I left that house with a broken heart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I hugged my mother's embroidered handkerchief and cried. I cried for my daughter, for her lost bravery, for her buried dreams, for the brilliant woman she had been and who now lived in fear. And I swore I would find a way to help her even if she wasn't ready to ask for help yet, because a mother never gives up. Never. 6 more months passed. 6 months of forced smiles, of brief calls, of constant excuses. Emily always had a reason not to visit me, not to go out, not to live. And then the invitation arrived. A family dinner to celebrate Matthew's birthday at a fancy downtown restaurant with the whole family present. I agreed to go, although something in my chest warned me that this night would be different. I didn't know how much, but a mother always intuits when the storm is about to arrive. Sometimes we trust too much in those we shouldn't. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. The night of the dinner arrived with a light rain, those fine drops that wet without making noise like silent tears from the sky. I got ready carefully. The navy blue dress, a discreet pearl necklace, comfortable shoes. I put my mother's embroidered handkerchief in my purse, as always. I touched it with my fingers before closing the zipper. Give me strength, Mom, I whispered. I arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes before the agreed time. I have always been punctual. It is one of those things Edward valued about me. Nancy, with you one never has to wait, he would say, smiling. How I missed him. How I needed his presence that night. The restaurant was elegant. White tablecloths, silverware, lit candles at every table, soft background music. The kind of place where people speak in low voices and waiters walk without making noise. I sat at the reserved table, a large round table near the window. From there, I could see the wet street, the cars passing the people walking under their umbrellas. I asked for a glass of water and waited. Emily arrived shortly after. I saw her walk in on Michael's arm and something in my stomach tightened. She was wearing a beige dress with small flowers, discreet, almost childish. It wasn't her style. Emily had always preferred strong colors, modern designs, clothes that spoke of her personality. But that woman, walking toward me, seemed to want to disappear. Her hair was pulled back in a low bun without a single strand out of place. Her makeup was perfect but excessive, as if she was trying to cover something. And her eyes were dull. Mom, she greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. She smelled of expensive perfume and fear. Daughter, so good to see you. I hugged her. I felt her bones too pronounced under the dress. She had lost weight. Where is Matthew? I asked. With a nanny, Michael answered before she could speak. This is an adult dinner. The boy would be restless. I didn't say anything, but it seemed strange to me. It was Matthew's birthday. Why celebrate it without him? Michael pulled out the chair for Emily. She sat down carefully as if every movement required permission. You look beautiful, Mom, said Emily, forcing a smile. You too, daughter. Lie. She looked tired, haggard, fragile. Michael sat next to her and immediately took out his phone. He started checking emails, answering messages, completely oblivious to our presence. Emily looked at her hands in her lap. How have you been, Mom? She asked in a low voice. Good, daughter. Busy with the garden. The roses are blooming beautifully this year. How nice you should come see them. You and Matthew. We could spend the afternoon together. She hesitated. Yes, Mom. Soon. That word that never comes. And you? How are you? Fine. Busy with the house, with Matthew? Just that. She looked at me. For a second, just a second, I saw something in her eyes. A silent plea, a stifled scream. But then Michael looked up from his phone. "Emily is perfectly fine, Nancy. She has everything she needs. A beautiful house, a healthy son, a husband who works hard to give her a good life." "I didn't doubt that, Michael." He smiled, but that smile didn't reach his eyes. Michael's parents arrived. Mr. Robert entered the restaurant as if he owned the place. Loud voice, rough manners, a presence that occupied more space than necessary. Mrs. Linda walked behind him quiet, with her gaze low, a shapeless gray dress and worn shoes. "Family," exclaimed Mr. Robert, opening his arms. Michael stood up immediately and hugged his father. Emily stood up too, but kept to the side, waiting. "Emily," said Mr. Robert, looking her up and down, "every day thinner. Does my son not feed you?" "I am fine, Mr. Robert." Fine women, always with their diets." Mrs. Linda greeted me with a nod. We all sat down. The waiter arrived with the menus. "Good evening. Can I offer you something to drink while you decide?" "Double whiskey," ordered Mr. Robert. "And bring a pitcher of water." "With ice." "For me, a white wine," said Michael. "I will have white wine, too," I added. The waiter looked at Emily. "And for you, ma'am." Emily hesitated. She looked at the menu. Then she looked at Michael. "White wine, too?" she asked, as if asking for permission. He didn't even look at her. "Whatever you want," she breathed. "Red wine, please." And there it was. That moment so small, so insignificant, so absurdly trivial. Michael looked up from his phone slowly, like a predator that has just detected movement. "Red wine." Emily blinked. "Yes? Why?" "I am going to order fish. Red wine does not go with fish." "Oh, sorry, I didn't think about that. I can change." She never thinks. The words fell like stones on the table. The waiter stood paralyzed with his pad in hand, not knowing what to do. I intervened. "It doesn't matter. Emily can order whatever she wants." "Right. We aren't in a sommelier exam." I tried to sound light, casual, but my voice came out tense. Mr. Robert let out a raspy laugh. "Leave it alone, Nancy. Michael is right. Women today don't even know how to order a glass of wine. In my time, wives asked first what the husband was going to order before asking for anything." Mrs. Linda lowered her gaze to her lap. Emily shrank in her chair. "Sorry," she whispered. "I will change to white wine." "Daughter, you don't have to." "White wine is fine, Mom." The waiter wrote quickly and walked away as if escaping a fire. I stayed silent. I swallowed hard. I felt my mother's handkerchief in my purse like an anchor. The conversation continued. Mr. Robert talked about politics, about business, about how much he had achieved in his life. Michael nodded, commented, laughed at the appropriate moments. Mrs. Linda ate in silence. Emily moved the food on her plate without tasting a bite. I watched every detail. How Emily kept her hands on the table, visible, as if she needed to prove she wasn't doing anything wrong. How she jumped every time Michael spoke loudly. How she constantly checked her phone, anxious. And then I saw it. As she reached out to reach the breadbasket, the long sleeve of her dress rode up just a few inches. Just enough. On her wrists there were marks, bruises in different stages of healing, some yellowish, others greenish, some still purple, fingerprints, clear, unmistakable. My blood froze. Emily noticed my gaze. Immediately she pulled her sleeve, covering herself with eyes full of panic. "It is nothing, Mom," she whispered. "That is not nothing." "Mom, please." Michael noticed the exchange. "Is something happening?" "No," replied Emily quickly. "Nothing. Everything is fine." He narrowed his eyes. Then he smiled. "Nancy, more wine." "No thanks." I wanted to scream. I wanted to take my daughter and run out of there. I wanted to call the police, a lawyer, anyone. But Emily looked at me with pleading eyes. "Not now, please, not now." So I stayed silent, and I hated myself for it. The dinner continued. The main course arrived. Fish for Michael, chicken for Mr. Robert, salad for Emily. "Just salad?" asked Mr. Robert. "On a diet again?" "I am not very hungry," she replied. "Women and their obsessions," he commented, shaking his head. Mrs. Linda said nothing. She just cut her food into small pieces and ate mechanically, like a robot. Michael talked to his father about a work project, a new building in the financial district, an important investment. "It could be the project of my career," Michael said. "I hope so, son. It is time you stopped being second and became first." "I know, Dad. I am working on it." "Good. A man must be the best, in everything, in work, in the house, in life. That is how it is." Emily moved her fork over the salad without eating. I tried to breathe normally. And then dessert arrived. The waiter brought a tray with different options. Mr. Robert ordered cheesecake. Michael ordered tiramisu. Mrs. Linda said she didn't want anything. I ordered coffee. The waiter looked at Emily. "And for you, ma'am, tiramisu too, please." The waiter nodded and walked away. A few minutes later, he returned with the tray. Cheesecake for Mr. Robert, coffee for me, and 2 plates of tiramisu. Except one wasn't tiramisu, it was cheesecake. The waiter placed it in front of Emily. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I ordered tiramisu." "Oh, I am so sorry. Let me change it for you." "No, it doesn't matter," she said quickly. "I can eat cheesecake, no problem." "Ma'am, it is no trouble. Seriously, it is fine." But Michael had already raised his hand. "Excuse me." The waiter approached nervously. "Yes, sir." "Is this how you work here? You bring whatever you feel like—" "I am very sorry, sir. It was a mistake. I can change it." "My wife ordered tiramisu." "Michael." "It doesn't matter," Emily whispered. "Really, I can eat cheesecake." He turned to her. "It does matter." His voice was low, controlled, but there was something underneath, something dark. "Honey, it is just a dessert. Are you always going to be this settled?" "I am not being settled. You always embarrass me." His voice rose. Nearby tables started to look. "Michael, please. People are watching. I don't care what people think." And then it happened. In a quick, brutal, unexpected movement, Michael reached out and grabbed Emily by the hair. He pulled her head back with force. The entire restaurant went silent, a silence so dense, so absolute, that I could hear my own heart beating. Emily did not scream. She did not defend herself. She only let out a choked whimper, a sound that came from the deepest part of her soul. While tears began to roll down her cheeks, her hands clung to the table, trembling. Her neck was twisted at an unnatural angle, and no one moved. The waiter stood paralyzed. The diners watched, but no one intervened. Mrs. Linda lowered her gaze to her plate, as if nothing was happening. And in that terrifying silence, in that moment frozen in time, a voice was heard, strong, clear, applauding. Mr. Robert. "That is how it is done, son," he shouted, hitting the table with an open palm. "That is how it is done. She has to know her place. A woman who does not respect her husband needs to be taught. Well done." Michael let go of Emily's hair. She collapsed onto her chair, with her shoulders shaking, with her hands covering her face. She cried in silence, like someone who has learned that her tears don't matter. And I felt something inside me break, something that had been holding me up, keeping me calm, controlled, polite, something that broke into 1,000 pieces. My hands trembled on the table. My blood turned to ice and fire at the same time. I felt my mother's handkerchief in my purse. I felt Edward's presence by my side. I felt all the women of my family, all those who stayed silent, all those who endured, all those who had no voice. And I stood up. While I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening from. Write the name of your city in the comments. I stood up, and in that moment, the whole world seemed to stop. All eyes turned to me. The diners, the waiters, the restaurant manager watching from the entrance. Michael looked at me with surprise, Mr. Robert with contempt, Mrs. Linda with fear, and Emily. Emily looked at me with pure panic. "No, Mom. Please, no." I could read her thoughts as if she were screaming them, but there was something stronger than my daughter's fear. There was something that had been growing inside me for years, since the first time I noticed the change in her eyes, since the first excuse, since the first bruise she tried to hide. Years of silence, years of ignored signs, years of believing it wasn't my place to intervene. But that night the silence ended. I extended my hand toward Emily. "Daughter, get up." My voice came out firm, firmer than I felt inside. Emily shook her head with tears rolling down her cheeks. "Mom, no. Get up. Nancy." Michael intervened with that controlled voice that was scarier than shouting. "I think you are misunderstanding the situation." Misunderstanding. It was a moment of tension, nothing more. Emily knows that sometimes I get nervous. It is work stress. She understands. I looked at my daughter. She nodded. She nodded her head like a broken puppet. "It is true, Mom. It was a difficult moment. Michael has a lot of pressure at work. I understand him." "You understand him?" "Yes." "You understand him pulling your hair in public?" "Mom, please." "You understand him humiliating you in front of all these people?" "He didn't humiliate me." "Emily." My voice broke. The entire restaurant was watching us. Mr. Robert wiped his mouth with his napkin and stood up too. "Nancy, I think it is better if you calm down. You are making a scene. This is a family matter between husband and wife. We don't need your drama." Drama. Yes. Women of your generation always exaggerate everything. A little discipline never hurt anyone. Look at my Linda, 50 years of marriage and never a problem, because she knows her place. I looked at Mrs. Linda. She remained seated, motionless, with her gaze lost somewhere on the tablecloth. 50 years of silence. And suddenly I understood everything. I understood why Michael was the way he was. I understood where that cruelty disguised as education came from. I understood that this violence had deep roots, generations of quiet women, of men who believed they had rights over them. "Mr. Robert," I said slowly, "with all due respect, you are not going to tell me how to raise my daughter, nor how to protect her. You don't need to protect her from her own husband." "Oh, no." I walked toward Emily. She tried to back away, but there was no more room. I took her arm gently. "Forgive me, daughter." "Mom, no." I pulled up the sleeve of her dress. There they were, the bruises, the marks, in different shades of yellow, green, purple, some recent, others older, clear fingerprints on her wrist, pressure marks on her forearm. I lifted them so everyone could see. "This," I said aloud so that every person in that restaurant could hear me. "This is not work stress. This is not a moment of tension. This is not discipline." My voice trembled, but I didn't stop. This is violence. This is abuse. And this is not going to stay silent anymore. Emily tried to free her arm, sobbing. "Mom, please, you are embarrassing me." "I am embarrassing you." The words hurt me more than anything. Michael stood up abruptly, knocking his chair back. "That is enough. We are leaving." "No," I said firmly. "Emily is coming with me. Emily is my wife. She goes where I say. Emily is my daughter, and she is not going anywhere where she is in danger." Danger? Michael let out a dry laugh. "What danger I give her a house, food, clothes, everything she needs. What else does she want? Respect, dignity, safety? I have her in a $500,000 house. That is enough respect." Mr. Robert intervened, taking his son's side. "Nancy, you are interfering in a marriage. That is not done. Couple problems are resolved at home, not in public." And when do those couple problems end? When my daughter ends up in the hospital or in the cemetery. The silence that followed was deafening. Mrs. Linda let out a choked whimper, but she didn't look up. "You are being dramatic," said Michael. "Dramatic? Look at her arm. Look at it." She fell. She fell. Yes, she is clumsy. She has always been clumsy. Emily nodded immediately. "It is true, Mom. I fell on the stairs. It was nothing." "And these other marks, did you fall too? Mom, how many times have you fallen?" "Emily, silence. How many—" Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. And then I saw something that broke me completely. I saw how Emily looked at Michael, seeking permission to speak, seeking permission to exist. My daughter, my brilliant girl, the one who built houses for birds, the one who dreamed of creating safe spaces. Now she had no voice of her own. Michael approached her and put a hand on her shoulder. She tensed immediately. "Honey," he said with that soft and dangerous voice, "your mom is confused. Tell her we are fine, that we are happy." Emily looked at me. Her eyes begged for forgiveness. "We are fine, Mom. We are happy." "Daughter, is that the truth?" "It is not." "Yes, it is." Her voice broke. "Michael loves me. Only sometimes I make him angry. But he is working on that. He is going to therapy." "Therapy?" "Yes. He started 2 weeks ago. He is trying, Mom. He is really trying." I looked at Michael. He was smiling. "See, everything is under control. We are handling our problems like responsible adults." "What kind of therapy?" "Anger management," he replied without hesitation. "An excellent therapist. He has helped me a lot." "And Emily's arm? Was that before or after starting therapy?" His smile wavered for a second. "Before. Definitely before." He was lying. I could see it in his eyes. But Emily defended his lie. "It is true, Mom. Michael is changing. Give him a chance, please. Daughter, this is not—" "Mom, I love you. But this is not your decision. It is mine. And I choose to stay with my husband, with the father of my son." Those words went through me like knives. "Even if he hurts you." "He doesn't hurt me, not anymore. Mom, please. Just let it go, please." Her voice broke into a sob. Mr. Robert applauded slowly, with sarcasm. "Well," said Emily, "a woman with common sense, not like these modern feminists who want to destroy families." I turned toward him. "Mr. Robert, with all due respect, you and your way of thinking are the reason why women like my daughter believe they deserve to be treated like this. Treated how? With a roof over her head, with food on the table, with violence, with contempt, with control. That is not violence. That is marriage. Couples fight. It has always been like that. No, it doesn't have to be like that. Well, in my house for 50 years, it has worked perfectly." I looked at Mrs. Linda again. She remained motionless, but I saw something in her eyes, something that wasn't peace. It was resignation. It was death in life. 50 years. And suddenly I knew I couldn't save Mrs. Linda. It was too late for her, but it wasn't too late for Emily. I turned to my daughter. I took her hands in mine. "Daughter, listen to me well." She cried silently. "I know you are afraid. I know you think you can't get out of this, that you have no options, that no one is going to understand you. Mom, worries? But you have them. You have options. You have a home with me. You have your profession. You have your life ahead of you. I have a son. And exactly for that reason, what do you want Matthew to learn? That this is how a woman is treated, that this is how his mother is treated." She turned pale. "Michael would never touch Matthew. I am not talking about that. I am talking about what he is learning by watching you suffer." "I don't suffer." "Yes, you do. I see it in your eyes. I see it in how you have stopped laughing, in how you have stopped dreaming. Dreams are for little girls, Mom. I am a married woman, a mother. I have responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is enduring abuse. It is not abuse. Yes, it is. My voice resonated throughout the restaurant. Emily shrank, and I knew I had lost her, at least for now. Michael stepped between us. I think that is enough for today, Nancy. Thanks for coming to dinner. But now Emily and I are going home with our son, our family, Michael, our family. Each word was a threat. Emily stood up. She avoided my gaze. She took her purse with trembling hands. I am sorry, Mom. I didn't mean for this to happen. Daughter, please. I will call you tomorrow. Emily. But she was already walking toward the exit, following Michael like a shadow. Mr. Robert left money on the table. A shame you ruined a family night, Nancy. But that is how meddling mother-in-laws are. They never know when to shut up. He left without waiting for an answer. Mrs. Linda stood up slowly. For a moment, our eyes met. I saw in her eyes 50 years of pain, 50 years of silence, 50 years of unanswered questions. What if? She opened her mouth as if she was going to say something, but no word came out. She just turned around and followed her husband. I stayed alone at that table, with the half-finished plates, the empty glasses, the candles burning out. The waiter approached timidly. Ma'am, are you okay? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I felt like I had just lost my daughter, that I had done everything wrong, that my intervention had only made things worse. I paid the bill. I left a tip. I left the restaurant. The rain had stopped. The air smelled of wet earth and something I couldn't name. Disappointment, maybe, or fear. I walked to my car. I sat behind the wheel without starting it. I took my mother's handkerchief out of my purse. I pressed it against my chest, and I cried. I cried for my daughter, for her lost bravery, for the dreams she had buried, for the fear that now lived in her eyes. And I cried for me, for not having seen the signs sooner, for not having acted sooner, for having trusted that a man's love would be enough to protect her. But love doesn't protect when it comes with fists. Love doesn't save when it comes with control. Love doesn't heal when it comes with fear. That night, I drove home in silence. The streets were empty. The city lights flickered like fallen stars. I arrived at my house, the house where Emily grew up, where she learned to walk, where she drew her imaginary houses on the garage walls. I entered. Everything was dark, silent, too silent. I turned on the lights. I made tea. I sat in the kitchen with my mother's handkerchief on the table. My phone rang. It was a message from Emily. Mom, I'm sorry. Please don't worry. I'm fine. I love you. I replied immediately. Daughter, my house is always open for you. Always. At any time. I love you. I saw the 3 dots indicating she was writing. Then they disappeared. There was no answer. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, wondering what else I could do. How could I save my daughter when she didn't want to be saved? How could I make her understand that she deserved more, that she deserved true love, that she deserved peace, that she deserved to live without fear? But victims of violence don't see what we see. They see hope where there is danger. They see love where there is manipulation. They see a future where there are only repeated cycles. And sometimes, as much as we want to save them, they have to reach the bottom before they can rise. They have to touch the deepest pain before finding the strength to get out. That night, watching the shadows on my ceiling, I knew the road would be long, that there would be more dinners, more lies, more bruises hidden under long sleeves. But I also knew something else. I knew I wouldn't give up, that I would stay there, that I would wait. Because a mother doesn't abandon. Never. And when my daughter was ready to ask for help, I would be there. With open arms, with a safe house, with the love that never comes with conditions. The phone vibrated again. Another message from Emily. Mom, please don't call the police, please. It would only make things worse. Trust me. Michael is better, I promise. My hands trembled over the phone. Call the police, force her to leave or wait. Trust that she would find her way, I replied. I won't call anyone without your permission, but I need you to promise me something. I need you to call me every day, just so I know you are okay. Can you do that for me? The 3 dots appeared again. This time they didn't disappear. Okay, Mom, I will call you, I promise. I closed my eyes. It wasn't enough, but it was something. A thin thread that kept us connected. A thread I wouldn't let go of for anything in the world, even if I had to wait years, even if I had to watch my daughter suffer, even if I had to bite my tongue 1,000 more times. I wouldn't let go, because that is what mothers do. They hold the thread. Even when everything else breaks, I still ask myself if I did the right thing. And you, what would you have done in my place? The days that followed were the longest of my life. Every morning I woke up with a tight heart, checking my phone, immediately waiting for Emily's message. Sometimes it arrived early, at 7 in the morning. Good morning, Mom. Everything good. I love you. Other times it arrived late, at 11, at noon, and I spent those hours in agony, imagining the worst. Would she be okay? Had he hurt her again? Had he crossed that line from which there is no return? The messages were always short, dry, without life, as if she wrote them with Michael looking over her shoulder, and that was probably the case. I tried to call her several times, but she never answered. Only text messages. Sorry, Mom. Matthew is crying. I will write to you later. Sorry, Mom. I am busy with the house. We will talk later. Sorry, Mom. Michael and I have plans. I will call you tomorrow. Always there was a reason. Always there was an excuse, and I knew they weren't hers. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of cold messages and unanswered calls. 2 weeks of sleepless nights, hugging my mother's handkerchief, wondering what to do. I consulted with a lawyer specialized in domestic violence, a woman named Karen, with tired eyes and firm hands. Is your daughter willing to report? She asked me. No. Do you have evidence, photographs, messages, witnesses? The marks on her body, the scene at the restaurant. There must be people who saw. But is any of them willing to testify? Silence. Nancy, said Karen with a soft but direct voice. I understand your pain. Believe me, I have seen hundreds of cases like this, but without your daughter's cooperation legally, you can't do much. Then what do I wait for her to end up in the hospital? Or worse? No, you wait for her to be ready. Meanwhile, you maintain communication. You let her know she has options, that she has support, and when she decides to leave, and believe me, that day will come, you will be there to receive her. And if that day never comes? Karen looked at me with a mix of compassion and realism. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't, but if you pressure her too much, you push her further away. The control he exerts over her is psychological. She needs to feel she has power over her own decision, even if that decision is to stay. How can I stand by with my arms crossed? You don't stand by with your arms crossed. You prepare. Document everything. Save the messages. If you see new marks, photograph them. Look for witnesses. And above all, stay close. Because when she decides to leave, it will probably be fast, and she will need you to be ready. I left that office with a folder full of information, restraining orders, shelters, hotlines, legal protocols, and a huge weight on my chest, because all of that required Emily to say, yes, I need help, and she wasn't there yet. One afternoon, 3 weeks after the dinner at the restaurant, I decided to visit her, without warning, out. I knew Michael worked late on Thursdays. It was my chance to talk to her alone. I drove to her house, a beautiful house in an exclusive area, 2 stories, manicured garden, a fountain at the entrance, the kind of house that appears in magazines, but I knew what was inside. I rang the doorbell. No one answered. I rang again. Nothing. I was about to leave when I heard steps. The door opened just a few inches. Emily peeked her head out. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Her voice sounded scared. "I came to see you." "Can I come in?" She hesitated. "Michael isn't here." "I know. That is why I came." She looked back as if someone could be listening. "It is not a good time, Mom." "Emily, please. I just want to see you, talk to you 5 minutes." Her eyes filled with tears. "Mom." "Please, daughter." Finally, she opened the door. I entered quickly before she changed her mind. The house was spotless. Too spotless. Like a museum. Without life. The curtains were closed even though it was a sunny afternoon. The living room was dark. Cold. "Where is Matthew?" I asked. "Sleeping his nap." "Can I see him?" "Better not. If we wake him, he will be grumpy all afternoon." I nodded. We sat in the living room, her on the edge of the sofa, with her hands on her lap, tense. "How have you been?" I asked. "Fine." "Really?" "Yes, Mom, really." But her voice trembled. I watched her carefully. She was wearing a turtleneck sweater despite the heat, long pants, her hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, covering herself, always covering herself. "Daughter, I need you to tell me the truth. You are telling me. Has Michael hurt you again?" She went rigid. "No." "Emily." "No, Mom. I already told you he is going to therapy. He is better." "Then why are you afraid of me being here?" "I am not afraid." "Yes, you are. I can see it." She stood up abruptly. "I think it is better if you leave." "Emily." "Wait." "No, Mom. You can't come here without warning. Michael is going to get upset." "And so, what if he gets upset?" "Because I live with him." Her voice broke. "Because I have to live with him every day, and every time you do something like this, every time you intervene, you put him in a bad mood, and I am the one who has to deal with that." Her words hit me like punches. "Daughter, I just want to help you." "Well, you aren't helping me. You are making things harder." "Harder than what?" "Harder than living with fear." "I don't live with fear." "You are trembling right now." She hugged herself. "Leave Mom, please, before Michael arrives." "He won't arrive for hours. You don't know that. Sometimes he leaves early. Sometimes he checks the cameras." "Cameras?" She turned pale. She had revealed something she shouldn't have. "What cameras, Emily?" "Nothing. Forget it." "Does he have cameras watching you?" "They are security cameras to protect the house." "Where are they?" "Mom." "Where?" She pointed with her head toward the corners. I saw small discrete cameras in the living room. "In the hallway. How many are there?" "I don't know." "Several." "In the whole house?" She didn't answer. "In the bedroom too." Silence. My God, Emily. "It is normal, Mom. Many houses have security cameras. And he checks them. Sometimes. To watch you. To protect us. That is not protection. That is control." "Enough," she shouted. "Enough of telling me how my marriage is." "You don't understand anything." Her scream woke Matthew. We heard his crying from upstairs. Emily put her hands to her face. "Look what you did. You woke him up." "Daughter." "Leave, please. Just leave." She ran up the stairs. I stood there, standing in that dark living room, looking at the cameras in the corners, small eyes watching every movement. I felt nauseous. My daughter lived in a beautiful prison with glass walls and invisible bars, but a prison nonetheless. I heard her voice upstairs calming Matthew, that sweet voice she used with her son. The only time she sounded like the Emily I knew. I wanted to go up, hug her, take her out of there by force. But Karen's words resonated in my head. If you pressure her too much, you push her further away. So I did the hardest thing I have had to do in my life. I left. I walked out of that house. I walked to my car. I sat behind the wheel, and I cried. I cried with rage, with helplessness, with a pain so deep I felt it splitting me in two. My phone rang, a message from an unknown number. I opened it. It was a video from the security cameras of Emily's house. It showed me, sitting in the living room, crying, and below, a message from Michael. "Nancy, I appreciate you worrying about your daughter, but these unannounced visits upset Emily. They make her nervous. They cause her stress. For the sake of her mental health, I ask that you only come when we invite you. I hope you understand. Regards." I felt my blood freeze. He was watching me. He knew exactly when I had arrived, how long I had been there, what I had said, and he was threatening me, subtly, politely, but threatening me nonetheless. I didn't reply. I deleted the message, but I couldn't delete the fear. I drove home on autopilot, my mind racing at 1,000 kilometers per hour. I arrived. I locked the door. I closed all the curtains. I sat in the kitchen with my mother's handkerchief in my hands. "What do I do, Mom?" I whispered. "What do I do when my daughter is trapped and I can't get her out?" The silence was my only answer. That night, I researched surveillance cameras, coercive control, technological abuse. I found articles, testimonies, stories of women who lived, watched 24 hours a day, who couldn't go out without permission, who couldn't talk to anyone without being heard. And all stories ended in two ways. Either they managed to escape, or they ended up dead. There was no middle ground. The following days were hell. Emily kept sending her daily messages, but now I knew that probably Michael read them before me. I tried to call her several times. She never answered. I sent her messages asking if we could meet in some public place, at a cafe, at the park. "Not now, Mom. Matthew is sick." "Not now, Mom. I have things to do." "Not now, Mom. Michael and I have couples therapy." Always there was a reason. 1 week later, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered with a racing heart. "Hello, Nancy Caldwell." It was a woman's voice, young, nervous. "Yes, it is me. Who is speaking?" "My name is Jessica. I was Matthew's nanny." My pulse skyrocketed. Yes, Michael fired me a week ago." "Why?" She hesitated. "Because I saw something I wasn't supposed to see." "What did you see?" "I can't talk on the phone. Can we meet? I have something to show you." Yes, of course." "Where?" We agreed to meet at a coffee shop on the other side of town, far from the area where Emily lived. I arrived half an hour early. I ordered a coffee I didn't drink. I just waited, with my stomach in a knot. Jessica arrived on time, a girl in her 20s, thin, with brown hair and a braid. She seemed scared. She sat in front of me and looked around before speaking. "Thanks for coming," she said in a low voice. "Thanks to you for calling me. How did you get my number?" "Emily gave it to me months ago. She told me if anything ever happened, anything serious, to call you." My heart stopped. "What happened?" Jessica took out her phone. She unlocked it with trembling hands. "I watched Matthew 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Michael worked and Emily needed help. I thought it was a normal family, a nice house, well paid, nothing weird." "Until when?" "Until 2 weeks ago. One Thursday, I arrived early. I rang the bell, but no one opened. I had an emergency key, so I went in. I heard voices upstairs, screams. Her voice broke. It was Michael, yelling at Emily, horrible things, telling her she was useless, that she was good for nothing, that any other woman would do a better job than her, and Emily was crying. She was asking for forgiveness, over and over again. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Tears started to roll down my cheeks. "I went up the stairs," continued Jessica. "I shouldn't have, but I was worried. The bedroom door was open, and I saw it." "What did you see?" She showed me her phone. It was a photograph, blurry, taken quickly, from the hallway, but clear enough. Michael had Emily against the wall, one hand on her throat, the other raised, ready to strike. Emily had her eyes closed, hands raised in defense, and in the corner of the room, sitting on his little bed, was Matthew, watching, just watching, a 3-year-old boy witnessing his father abuse his mother. I felt the world stop. "Did he see you?" I asked with a trembling voice. "Yes, he saw me take the photo. He let go of Emily immediately. He came down the stairs as if nothing had happened. He told me they were arguing, that they were couple matters, that it wasn't my problem." "And what did you say?" "I told him I was going to call the police." He laughed. He told me no one was going to believe me, that it was my word against his, that Emily was going to deny everything, and that if I tried anything, he would sue me for defamation. "Did you call the police?" "No, because Emily came down, and I asked her if she was okay, if she needed help, if she wanted me to call someone." Jessica wiped her tears, and she told me no, that everything was fine, that they had had an argument but it was already resolved, and she asked me to leave, that they didn't need my services anymore. "Emily fired you?" "No, it was Michael, but she didn't say anything. She just stood there, with red marks on her neck, telling me everything was fine." Jessica slid her phone toward me. "This photo is yours. Do what you have to do with it. I already tried to help, but I can't do more." I took the phone with trembling hands. I looked at the image again. My daughter, against the wall, with hands raised, waiting for the blow, and my grandson witnessing it all. Can I send myself this photo? Yes, that is why I brought it. I sent the image to my phone. I deleted the message immediately. "Jessica, would you be willing to testify if this goes to trial? Would you say what you saw?" She turned pale. I don't know. He threatened me. He said he has lawyers, that he would sink me." "I understand, but if it is necessary, would you consider it?" She nodded slowly. "If it helps Emily, yes, I would do it." "Thank you. Thank you for calling me, for trusting me. Emily is a good woman. She doesn't deserve this. No one deserves it." Jessica stood up to leave, but before doing so, she turned around. "One more thing. Matthew has started having nightmares. Emily told me he wakes up crying every night, screaming, saying he is scared." "Scared of what? Of Daddy." Those 2 words destroyed me. Jessica left. I stayed sitting in that coffee shop, looking at the photograph on my phone, the evidence I needed, the proof that these were not couple fights. This was systematic violence. This was abuse. And now it was affecting my grandson. I called Karen, the lawyer. "I have evidence," I told her without preamble. "What kind of evidence?" "A photograph of Michael assaulting Emily and a witness willing to testify." "That changes things. Does Emily know you have this?" "No." "Nancy, you need to tell her. She has to be willing to use it. And if she is not willing, then we still can't do anything. The victim has to want to leave. But my grandson? I know, but legally, without the mother's cooperation, it is very difficult to intervene." I hung up frustrated. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed looking at the photograph on my phone, over and over again, until I memorized it, until it was etched in my mind forever. My daughter, waiting to be hit, and me, without being able to do anything. Yet. 3 days passed since my meeting with Jessica. 3 days in which the photograph burned in my phone like a radioactive secret. 3 days in which every time I closed my eyes, I saw my daughter against that wall, and my grandson watching, learning, normalizing. The messages from Emily kept arriving punctually every morning. "Good morning, Mom. Everything good." But now I knew the truth behind those words. I knew what everything good meant in her world. It meant surviving another day. It meant not provoking. It meant making herself small, invisible, harmless. On Friday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Emily. For the first time in weeks, she was calling me. I answered before the second ring. "Daughter." "Mom," her voice sounded strange. Tense, but controlled. "Can you come tomorrow? Michael wants to talk to you." My stomach tightened. Michael wants to talk to me. Yes, he thinks we should clear things up, that there have been misunderstandings. He wants us to have a civilized conversation. And do you want me to go? Silence. Emily, do you want me to go, or is he forcing you to call me? Mom, please, just come, please. There was something in her voice, something that made my skin crawl. Are you okay? Yes, just come tomorrow at 10 in the morning. Can you? Yes, I will be there. Thanks, Mom, I love you. She hung up before I could reply. I stayed looking at the phone, with a bad feeling growing in my chest. Why did Michael want to see me? Did he know about the photograph? Did he know about Jessica? Or was it something else I called Karen? Nancy, don't go alone, she warned me. If you go, take someone with you, and keep your phone on, recording if possible. Do you think it could be dangerous? I think a man who assaults his wife and then convinces her it was her fault is capable of anything. Be careful. That night, I prepared everything. I checked that my phone was fully charged. I downloaded an app to record audio discreetly. I gave my friend Linda Emily's address and told her to call me at 11 in the morning, without fail. If I don't answer, I told her, call the police. Nancy, you are scaring me. Just do it, Linda, please. I slept little. I dreamed of Emily as a child, building her birdhouse. Birds also need a safe place, she said in the dream, but when I looked inside the house, it was empty. The birds had left, or had never arrived. Saturday dawned cloudy, gray, as if the sky itself anticipated what was coming. I dressed carefully, comfortable clothes, but dignified. I kept my mother's handkerchief in my purse. I checked that my phone was working and drove to Emily's house. I arrived exactly at 10. The garden was spotless as always, the flowers perfectly aligned, the lawn freshly cut, everything so orderly, so controlled, like my daughter's life. I rang the doorbell. Michael opened the door. He was wearing an impeccable white shirt, dress pants, an educated smile that didn't reach his eyes. Nancy, thanks for coming. Come in, please. His courtesy put my nerves on edge. I entered. The house was in dim light again, curtains closed, dim lights. Emily was sitting in the living room, dressed in a gray turtleneck sweater and black pants, her hair pulled back. Without makeup, she looked like a ghost. Hi, Mom, she said without getting up. Daughter. I sat in front of her. Michael sat next to her, too close, with a possessive hand on the back of the sofa, behind Emily's shoulders. Where is Matthew? I asked. With my parents, Michael replied. We thought it was better to have this conversation without distractions. I nodded slowly. I discreetly activated the recording on my phone inside my purse. Well, said Michael, crossing his legs with a studied calm. Nancy, we called you because I think there has been a series of misunderstandings between us. Misunderstandings. Yes, I know what you saw at the restaurant worried you, and I understand why. From the outside, it could look bad, but appearances deceive. It didn't look like an appearance. It looked like violence. It was an unfortunate moment. I was under a lot of stress. Emily and I had argued all week about various issues, and I exploded. I admit it, but I have been working on that. That is what they told me. Do you see, I am aware of my problems. I am going to therapy. I am striving to be better, but I need you to give me space, to trust that we can resolve our problems without external interference. External interference. Your unannounced visit 2 weeks ago upset Emily a lot. It left her in a bad emotional state, and when she is bad, everything at home destabilizes. I looked at Emily. She kept her gaze fixed on her hands. Daughter, is that true? She nodded without looking up. Yes, Mom, when you came. It was difficult. Difficult how? Michael got upset. We argued. It was complicated. Did he hurt you? Mom. Answer the question, Emily. Michael intervened with a firm but controlled voice. Nancy, These accusations are very serious and very unfair. I would never intentionally hurt Emily. She is my wife, the mother of my son. I love her. Love leaves no marks. The marks you saw were from an accident. An accident? Yes. Emily slipped on the stairs. She grabbed the railing and got those bruises. That is not true. Yes, it is, said Emily quickly. I slipped. It was my fault. I was wearing socks and the floor was freshly waxed. Daughter, please, don't lie to me. I am not lying to you. Her voice broke. Tears started to fall. Michael put a hand on her shoulder. She tensed, but didn't move. See, Nancy, your accusations hurt her. They make her feel you don't trust her, that you think she is incapable of taking care of herself. I don't think that. I think she is in danger. Danger. Michael let out a dry laugh. Look around you. This house is worth over $1 million. Emily has everything she needs. Clothes, food, safety. I work 60 hours a week to give her this life. Does that seem like danger to you? Danger is not always economic. Then what is it? Psychological, emotional, Nancy. Emily is fine. She is happy. She has a family. Why do you insist on creating problems where there are none? Because I saw the bruises. Because I saw how you pulled her by the hair. Because I saw the fear in her eyes. The fear of you, of your judgments, of your intrusion. His words were like slaps. I looked at Emily. Is that true? Are you afraid of me? She sobbed in silence. I just want my family to be in peace, Mom, just that. And is it in peace? Silence. Michael stood up, walked to the window with hands in pockets. When he spoke, his voice was harder. Nancy, I am going to be very clear with you. I appreciate that you love your daughter, but you are interfering in my marriage. You are causing problems, and I need you to stop. Or what? He turned slowly. Or I am going to have to take legal measures to protect my family. Are you threatening me? I am informing you. If you continue harassing Emily, if you continue visiting without permission, if you continue spreading rumors about me, I am going to request a restraining order. A restraining order against her mother. If necessary, yes, for the emotional well-being of Emily and Matthew. This is ridiculous. Is it? You have a history of unsolicited visits, of constant calls, of disturbing messages. A judge could see it as harassment. I am her mother, and I am her husband. Legally, I have more rights than you over the decisions of this family. Rage boiled inside me, but I knew I had to stay calm. Emily, I said, ignoring Michael. Look at me. She looked up slowly. Her eyes were red, swollen. Daughter, I need you to tell me something, and I need you to be completely honest. Are you doing this because you want to, or because he is forcing you? Mom, just answer. Do you want me to stay away from your life? Tears rolled down her cheeks. I don't want you to suffer, Mom. I don't want you to worry about me. That is not the question. It is the answer I can give you. Her voice broke into a desperate scream, and in that scream I heard everything. I heard the fear. I heard the resignation. I heard the defeat. My daughter was trapped, and she knew it. But she had made the decision to stay, to protect me by pushing me away, to sacrifice herself to keep the peace. Michael sat back down next to her. I think that answers your question, Nancy. Now, I am going to ask you to respect your daughter's wishes. If she wants to see you, she will call you. But no more surprise visits, no more insistent calls. Give us space to fix our marriage. And if I don't, then we will see each other in court. He stood up. The meeting was over. I didn't move. Michael, there is something you should know. He arched an eyebrow. What? I took out my phone. I opened the photograph Jessica had sent me. I turned it so both could see it. Emily turned pale. Michael stayed motionless. The photograph was clear, brutal, undeniable. This I said with a firm voice, is not an accident. This is not work stress. This is assault, and I have a witness willing to declare that she witnessed this moment. The silence was so dense I could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall. Michael looked at the photo, then at Emily, then at me, and smiled, that frozen smile that gave me chills. Nancy, are you blackmailing me? I am showing you the truth. The truth. This is an invasion of our privacy. Whoever took this photo was in our house without permission. That is illegal. Jessica had a key. She had permission to be there. Jessica was fired for theft. Anything she says will be discredited. Theft, you didn't tell me that, Emily. Emily was crying in silence, hugging herself. She stole money from my wallet, said Michael, and when I confronted her, she invented this ridiculous story to get revenge. It is her word against mine. Who do you think a judge is going to believe? The evidence. What evidence a blurry photo that could have been taken at any time, in any context, no date, no time, nothing to prove when it was taken. There is the testimony of an employee fired for being a thief. Nancy, if you take this anywhere, I am going to sink her legally, and while I am at it, I will sue you for defamation. Do it. I don't care. No, and what about Emily? Have you thought about what this would do to her a public trial, her private life exposed, her name in the newspapers, her reputation destroyed? Is that what you want for your daughter? I looked at Emily. She was shaking her head, terrified. Mom, no, please, don't do this. Daughter, please. She stood up abruptly. Delete that photo. Delete it now. Emily, this is evidence. I don't care, she shouted. I don't want anyone to see it. I don't want this to come to light. I just want everything to end. She collapsed on the sofa, sobbing. Michael hugged her. She let him, like a broken doll. See, Nancy, you are hurting her. More damage than I could ever do to her. His words penetrated me like poison. Was it true? Was I doing more harm by trying to save her? I looked at the photograph on my phone, then I looked at my daughter, destroyed, and I made a decision. Okay, I said slowly, I am not going to show this photo, for now. Michael smiled victoriously. I knew you would see reason, but I continued raising my voice. I am not going to delete it. I am going to keep it. And if anything happens to Emily, if she shows up with one more bruise, if she ends up in the hospital, if anything whatsoever happens to her, this photo goes straight to the police, to the media, to everywhere. Understood? His smile disappeared. That sounds like a threat. No, it is a promise. We stared at each other, two people fighting for the same woman, but with opposite intentions. He wanted to possess her. I wanted to free her. Leave, he said finally, and don't come back. If Emily wants to see you, she will decide when and where. I stood up. I put away my phone. I approached Emily. I knelt in front of her. Daughter, look at me. She looked up slowly. Listen to me well. No matter how much time passes, no matter what he tells you, no matter what happens between us, my house will always be open for you. You can arrive at any time, day or night, with Matthew or without him, and I will be there. Do you understand me? She nodded without speaking. I love you. Never forget that. I love you too, Mom. I hugged her. I felt her fragile bones, her trembling body, her broken soul, and I had to let her go. I had to leave her there, with him. I left that house with a shattered heart. I got into my car. I closed the door, and before starting, I checked that the audio recording had worked. It had. Every word, every threat, every manipulation by Michael had been recorded. I didn't have the photograph as legal evidence, but I had his voice admitting he had exploded. I had his threats. I had his pattern of control. It was something. It wasn't enough, but it was something. I drove home crying the whole way, that night, alone in my kitchen, with my mother's handkerchief on the table. I understood something. I couldn't save Emily. Only she could save herself. I could only be ready for when she made that decision. And meanwhile, I had to trust. Trust that the girl who built birdhouses was still in there. Trust that the woman who dreamed of creating safe spaces would find a way to create one for herself. Trust that the moment would come. And when it came, I would be there, with open arms, and with the evidence needed to protect her. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. After that meeting, Emily stopped answering my messages with the same frequency, sometimes 2. 3 days passed without news. When she finally wrote, they were even colder messages, more distant. "Hi, Mom. All good. Can't talk now. Busy." And I knew Michael was cutting the last threads that united us, isolating her, separating her from everything that could give her strength to leave. I tried calling her. The messages went straight to voicemail. I tried visiting her. No one opened the door. It was as if my daughter had vanished, as if I had lost her even though she was still alive. December arrived with cold and rain. The holidays were approaching. Christmas, New Year's, dates we used to spend together. I sent a message to Emily. "Daughter, I would love for you to come to dinner on Christmas Eve. You, Michael, and Matthew. I will make your favorite dish, please." 2 days passed before she replied. "Thanks, Mom, but we already have plans with Michael's family. Maybe New Year's." New Year's arrived. She didn't come. She didn't call. Only a text message at 11 at night. "Happy New Year, Mom. I love you." I spent midnight alone. With a glass of wine I didn't drink, looking at old photos of Emily as a child, laughing, Emily as a teenager, graduating, Emily as an adult, at her wedding, radiant. At what moment had everything broken? At what moment had I lost my daughter? January brought a biting cold, and with it, a call that would change everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the garden, pruning the roses Emily loved. My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up the phone. "Hello." Nancy Caldwell. It was a woman's voice, professional, serious. "Yes, it is me. This is Dr. Stevens from General Hospital. Your daughter Emily was admitted this morning." The world stopped. "What? She is stable, but we need you to come as soon as possible." "What happened? Is she okay?" "My grandson. The boy is fine. He is with social services temporarily, but we need to speak with you. Can you come now?" Yes, I am coming." I dropped the pruning shears. I ran to my car. I drove with my heart in my throat. General Hospital, floor 3, room 312. I ran up the stairs because the elevator was too slow. I arrived panting at the nursing station. "Emily Caldwell, I am her mother." The nurse looked at me with compassion. "Room 312, Dr. Stevens is waiting for you." I walked down that white and cold hallway as if walking through a nightmare. Outside the room, a woman in a medical coat was reviewing a file. "Dr. Stevens." She looked up. 50-something years old, gray hair pulled back, tired eyes, but kind. "Mrs. Caldwell." "Yes, what happened? Where is my daughter?" "She is asleep. We gave her sedatives. She was very upset when she arrived." "What happened to her?" The doctor guided me to a small private waiting room. She closed the door. "Your daughter arrived this morning at the emergency room. The neighbors brought her. They say they heard screams. When they went out to check, they found her in the garden, barefoot, with her son in her arms, bleeding. My God. She has a fracture in her left wrist, contusions on her face, bruises all over her body, some recent, others from weeks ago, and..." The doctor hesitated. "And what? Marks on her neck. Someone tried to strangle her." I felt the floor disappearing under my feet. He tried to kill her. I can't make legal speculations, but yes, the marks are consistent with manual strangulation. Another minute more and... She didn't finish the sentence. Tears began to roll down my cheeks. Can I see her? Yes, but she is asleep. The sedatives will keep her that way for a few more hours. I entered the room, and there was my daughter, in a hospital bed, connected to monitors, with bandages on her wrist, her face swollen, with purple and yellow bruises, a neck brace protecting her neck. She looked so small, so fragile, so broken. I sat next to her. I took her right hand, the one that wasn't hurt, with infinite care. "Daughter," I whispered, I am here now." She didn't respond. She only breathed slowly, deeply, lost in induced sleep. I stayed there, holding her hand, crying in silence. Hours later, Dr. Stevens returned. "Mrs. Caldwell, there is something else you need to know." "What?" "Your daughter is pregnant, 8 weeks approximately." The shock was like a physical blow. "Pregnant?" "Yes, and given the circumstances, we are very worried. The pregnancy is high risk due to the physical trauma. We will need to monitor her closely." "Does she know?" "I am not sure. When she arrived, she was in shock. She wasn't speaking coherently. She only repeated, 'Protect Matthew. Protect Matthew. Where is Matthew?' The social services have him temporarily. He is physically unharmed, but he will need psychological evaluation. He witnessed the incident." "What incident?" "What happened exactly?" The doctor showed me the report. According to the neighbors, they heard screams around 6 in the morning. Michael screaming, Emily begging, Matthew crying. The neighbors called the police, but before they arrived, Emily ran out of the house with Matthew in her arms, barefoot, bleeding, terrified. She ran to the neighbor's house and pounded on the door desperately. "Help me, please. He's going to kill me." The neighbors let her in and locked the door. Michael came out of the house minutes later, pounded on the neighbor's door, demanded they return his wife and son. "They are my family. You have no right to interfere." The neighbors refused. The police arrived. Michael, calm, polite, explained it had been a marital argument, that Emily was hysterical, that she had emotional problems, that she needed psychiatric help. But the marks on Emily's neck spoke for themselves. They arrested him right there. Charges: aggravated domestic assault and attempted homicide. "Where is he now?" I asked. "In jail. His bail hearing is tomorrow. He can't get out. He can't approach her. We have requested an emergency restraining order, but we need your daughter to declare. We need her to testify." "She will. I will make sure she does." The doctor looked at me with compassion. "Mrs. Caldwell, many victims of domestic violence drop the charges, especially when there are children involved. And now, with a pregnancy, the pressure will be enormous. This time is different. He almost killed her." "I know. But the pattern of abuse includes remorse, flowers, apologies, promises of change, and many women return. My daughter won't. I hope you are right." That night I stayed at the hospital. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave her alone. I sat in that uncomfortable chair next to her bed and watched her sleep. My girl, my daughter, the one who built birdhouses. Now she was broken, but she was still alive. And as long as there was life, there was hope. Around 3 in the morning, Emily began to move, soft whimpers, broken phrases. "No, please, Matthew, protect Matthew." I got up and approached. "Emily, you are safe. I am here." Her eyes opened slowly, confused, scared. "Mom, yes, daughter, I am here." "Where? Where am I?" "In the hospital. You are safe." She tried to sit up, but the pain stopped her. She moaned, calm down, don't move. You have a fractured wrist." Her eyes filled with tears. "Matthew, where is Matthew?" "He is fine, he is safe. Social services are taking care of him." "Michael, in jail." She closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I am sorry, Mom. I am so sorry. No, daughter, don't apologize. None of this is your fault. I should have listened to you. I should have left sooner, but I thought I could fix it. I thought if I was a better wife, if I was more careful, if I didn't provoke him. Daughter, no, listen to me. Nothing you did or didn't do justifies what he did to you. Nothing, she sobbed. He tried to kill me, Mom. This morning I told him I was pregnant, and he went crazy. He said he didn't want more children, that he couldn't control me with one anymore, that with two it would be impossible. And then he grabbed me by the neck. Her voice broke into a choked scream. You don't have to tell it now, rest. No, I need to say it. I need someone to know the truth. She breathed deep, despite the pain. He took me by the neck and squeezed. I felt like I was dying, Mom. I saw black spots, I heard Matthew screaming, and I thought, my children are going to grow up without a mother. They are going to believe this is normal. They are going to repeat the cycle. But you didn't. You survived. He let me go. I don't know why. Maybe he heard Matthew. Maybe he got scared, but he let me go. And in that moment, I knew that if I didn't leave that house, I was going to die. Maybe not that day, but soon. You did the right thing, daughter. I took Matthew and ran. I didn't even put on shoes. I just ran, and Michael came out behind me screaming, if you leave, you will regret it. I am going to take the children away. I am going to destroy you. He can't do anything to you now. Are you sure? Her voice was so small, so scared. Yes, he is in jail. There is a restraining order, and this time you are going to testify. You are going to make sure he can't hurt you again. She looked at me with eyes full of fear. What if he gets out? What if he finds me? He won't. I am going to protect you. You are coming to my house. You, Matthew, and that baby coming on the way. You are going to be safe. You know about the baby. The doctor told me. New tears. I don't know if I can, Mom. I don't know if I can bring another child into this world. Not after everything Matthew has seen. Matthew is going to be fine. You are going to be fine. We are going to heal together, as a family. She clung to my hand. Do you really believe that? Yes, daughter, I believe it. We stayed like that, with hands intertwined, crying together, for the lost time, for the suffered pain, for the courage it took to leave, and for the hope that the worst was behind us. But deep in my heart, I knew this wasn't over. Michael wasn't one to give up easily, and the real battle was just beginning. The next day, early in the morning, a detective arrived, Detective Miller, 40-something years old, serious look. Notebook in hand. Mrs. Caldwell, is your daughter in condition to speak? Yes, but I need to be present. Of course. We entered the room. Emily was awake, looking out the window. Emily, this is Detective Miller. He needs your statement. She nodded, nervous. The detective sat down. Emily, I know this is difficult, but I need you to tell me in your own words what happened yesterday morning. Emily breathed deep and started speaking. She told everything, the years of abuse, the threats, the control, the cameras, the isolation, and finally, the attempted strangulation. The detective took notes without interrupting. When she finished, he closed his notebook. Thank you, Emily. This is enough to maintain charges. Michael Mendez will face trial for aggravated domestic assault and attempted homicide. Is he going to get out on bail? I asked. His hearing is this afternoon. We are going to argue he is a danger to the victim, with your testimony and the medical evidence. It is likely they will deny him bail. Likely, not sure. It is never sure, Mrs. Caldwell, but we will do everything possible. After the detective left, Emily looked at me. Mom, I am scared. I know, daughter. What if he gets out? What if he fulfills his threats? He won't, not this time. I took out my phone. Remember the photograph I showed you months ago? She nodded. I have it. And I have the recording of the meeting at your house. where Michael threatened to sue you, where he admitted he exploded. Everything is documented. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to be ready, and now you are. For the first time in a long time, I saw something in my daughter's eyes. It wasn't fear. It was determination. I am going to testify, Mom. I am going to make sure he pays for everything he did. That is how you talk. I took her hand. Daughter, this is going to be hard. There will be pressure. His family is going to try to make you change your mind. They are going to say you are destroying a family, to think of Matthew, to think of the baby. I already thought of them. That is why I am doing this. So they grow up knowing abuse is not tolerated, that women are not property, that we deserve respect. I felt my heart swell with pride. There she was, the brave woman I had raised, the one who built birdhouses, the one who dreamed of creating safe spaces. She had been there all along. She just needed to find the strength to come out, and finally she had done it. Emily spent 3 days in the hospital, 3 days in which I saw my daughter transform slowly, not back to who she was before. That would be impossible. No one goes back to being the same after surviving what she survived. But I saw something more valuable than lost innocence. I saw wisdom. I saw strength. I saw a woman who had touched the darkest bottom and decided to rise. Michael's bail hearing was on Wednesday. Emily couldn't attend. She was still hospitalized. But I went. I sat in that cold courtroom, surrounded by lawyers, family members, people waiting for justice, and I saw him enter, Michael Mendez, with handcuffs on his hands, orange prison uniform, but maintaining that arrogant posture, that look that said, "This is just a misunderstanding." His father was there, Mr. Robert, sitting in the front row, with an expensive suit and indignant expression. Mrs. Linda hadn't come. I wondered if she had ever had the choice. The judge entered. We all stood up. The prosecutor presented the case. Attempted homicide, aggravated domestic assault, documented pattern of abuse. Your Honor, the defendant is a clear and present danger to the victim. He has financial resources to flee. He has motives to intimidate witnesses. We request bail be denied. Michael's lawyer stood up, a man in his 50s, perfect tie, leather briefcase. Your Honor, my client is a respected engineer, no criminal record, with community ties. This was an isolated incident product of marital tensions. My client is willing to submit to intensive therapy, to use an electronic ankle bracelet, to comply with any condition the court imposes. Keeping him in preventive prison would be excessive. The prosecutor responded immediately. Isolated incident. We have photographs of previous assaults, witness testimonies, evidence of years of systematic abuse. The defendant almost killed his pregnant wife in front of his 3-year-old son. This is not marital tension. It is criminal violence. The judge listened in silence, taking notes. Finally, he spoke. I have reviewed the file. The photographs are disturbing. The victim's testimony is consistent. The strangulation marks are clear evidence of lethal intent. My heart beat strongly. However, continued the judge, the defendant has no criminal record. He has constitutional rights to a fair defense. Therefore, I will set bail at $500,000 with the following conditions. Electronic bracelet, restraining order of 500 meters from the victim and her children, prohibition of direct or indirect contact, surrender of passport, and mandatory anger management therapy. I felt the world fall apart. $500,000. Mr. Robert could pay that without blinking. The prosecutor objected. Your Honor, with all due respect, $500,000 is no obstacle for a family with resources like the Mendez family. The defendant could pay bail and disappear. Objection noted, said the judge, but my decision is firm. The defendant may leave on bail once all conditions are met. Next case. He banged the gavel. I left that room trembling. Michael was going to get out. Maybe not today, Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And when he got out, he would come for Emily. Not physically, maybe, but he would come. I ran to the hospital. I entered Emily's room panting. She saw me and knew immediately. Did they give him bail? Yes. How much? $500,000. His father can pay that. I know. She brought her healthy hand to her belly in an instinctive protective gesture. How much time do we have? I don't know, maybe a few days, a week at most. Then we have to move fast. Move a daughter. You are still in the hospital. I don't care. I need to get out of here. I need to get Matthew back. I need to leave before Michael gets out. Leave to where? To your house. You said it would always be open for me. And it is. Of course it is. Then get me out of here, please. I spoke with Dr. Stevens. I explained the situation. Medically, she would need to stay at least 2 more days, she said. But I understand the circumstances. If she signs a document releasing the hospital from liability, I can discharge her today with strict rest instructions. I will sign it, said Emily without hesitation. Very well, I will prepare the paperwork. While Emily signed the documents, I made calls to social services to coordinate reunification with Matthew, to Karen, the lawyer, so she could prepare all legal documents: permanent restraining order, request for full custody, divorce lawsuit, to a locksmith to change all the locks on my house, to a security company to install cameras and alarms. I wasn't going to let Michael get close. Never again. That afternoon, Emily left the hospital, with her arm in a sling, bruises still visible on her face, but with her head high. I took her directly to social services. Matthew was in a waiting room, playing with colored blocks under the supervision of a social worker. When he saw Emily, he dropped the blocks. Mommy! His trembling little voice broke my heart. Yes, my love, it is Mommy. Emily knelt down, ignoring the pain. She opened her healthy arm. Matthew ran to her and threw himself into her arms, crying. Mommy, 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 I am here, baby, I am here. She hugged him tightly, kissing his head, his cheeks, whispering words of comfort. We aren't going back to that house anymore. Right, Mommy? Asked Matthew with a small voice. No, my love, never. And Daddy? Emily stayed quiet for a moment. Then, with a firm but soft voice, she replied, Daddy did things that are not right, and now he has to learn that that is not done. But you don't have to worry about anything. Mommy is going to protect you. Grandma is going to protect you. You are safe. Promise, promise. She sealed it with a kiss on the forehead. The social worker gave us the temporary reunification documents. Emily has emergency custody. Michael Mendez has no right to unsupervised visits while facing criminal charges. If he tries to contact the minor, call the police immediately. We signed everything. And finally, after days of nightmare, we went home, my house, which now would be their house. We arrived at dusk. The locksmith had already finished. New locks, new keys. The security cameras were installed, monitoring the front door, the garden, the rear access. Any movement would trigger an alert on my phone. I prepared the guest room for Emily and Matthew. Clean sheets, soft towels, fresh flowers on the nightstand. Welcome home, daughter. Emily looked around with tears in her eyes. Thanks, Mom, for everything, for not giving up on me, for being here when I could finally get out. I will always be here. That night we had a simple dinner: chicken soup, toast, chamomile tea. Matthew fell asleep on the sofa at 8, emotionally exhausted. I carried him to bed. I put on his favorite pajamas we had rescued from the house. I tucked him in carefully. Grandma, he murmured, half asleep. Yes, my love. Will I not have nightmares anymore? Maybe you will still have some, but I will be here, and your mommy too. And when you are scared, you call us and we come running. Okay. I kissed him on the forehead. I left the room and found Emily in the living room, looking out the window. I sat next to her. How do you feel? I don't know. Relieved. scared, angry, all at the same time. It is normal. When does it stop hurting, Mom? I don't know, daughter, but every day it hurts a little less. She leaned on my shoulder. There is something I need to do, she said after a long silence. What? I need to go to the house, one last time. There are things I want to recover. Documents, photos of baby Matthew, some objects that were Dad's that he gave me before dying. Daughter, that can wait. No, I need to do it before Michael gets out, before he changes the locks, before he destroys everything to hurt me. Then we will go together, with police escort. Can that be done? Yes, it is called property recovery with police protection. Karen mentioned it. You can request an officer accompany you to recover your things. I want to go tomorrow. Are you sure? I need to close that chapter, Mom. I need to get my things out of that house and never return. The next day. We coordinated with the police. 2 officers would accompany us at 10 in the morning. Emily had a list: personal documents, birth certificates, photo albums, Matthew's clothes, some jewelry that had belonged to my mother and that I had inherited to her. The architectural drawings she had made years ago. We will only have 1 hour, the officer warned us. Take essentials, no large furniture. We arrived at the house, that beautiful house with the perfect garden and fountain at the entrance, that house that had been her prison. Emily stayed in the car for a moment, looking at it. Are you ready? I asked. Yes. The officers opened the door with Emily's key. We entered. Everything was exactly as she had left it the morning of the emergency. Dishes in the sink, Matthew's toys on the floor, a half-finished cup of coffee on the table, as if time had stopped. Emily walked slowly through the house, touching the walls, the furniture. I thought this house was my dream, she whispered. But it was my nightmare. We went up to the master bedroom. Emily opened the closet, took out a large suitcase, started packing systematically. Essential clothes, documents from the safe, jewelry, photo albums. I helped her in silence. Then she found something, a shoebox hidden at the back of the closet. She opened it. Inside were more photographs, photographs she herself had taken of her wounds over the years, dozens of them, bruises, cuts, marks, each one dated on the back with trembling handwriting. January 15, 2022. He pushed me against the door. March 3, 2022. He pulled my arm hard. July 28, 2022. He slapped me when I contradicted his father. Meticulous documentation of her own suffering. Daughter, why did you keep all this? Because deep down I knew someday I would need it, that someday I would have to prove it. I don't know. I think it was my way of not going crazy, of reminding myself that it was happening, that I wasn't imagining it. This is crucial evidence. I know. She put the box in the suitcase. We went down to the living room. On the table was an envelope, with Emily's name written in Michael's handwriting. She took it with trembling hands. She opened it. Inside was a letter. She started reading it aloud, but her voice broke. I took the letter and read, Emily, I know you are angry. I know you hate me now, but you need to know that everything I did was for love, because I love you too much, because I can't live without you. Yes, I made a mistake. I admit it. I lost control. But you also provoke me. You drive me crazy with your attitude, with your defiance, with your disobedience. If you had been the wife you promised to be, none of this would have happened. But there is still time. We can fix this. Drop the charges. Come home. We can go to therapy together. We can start over. Think of Matthew. Think of our baby. Do you really want them to grow up without a father? Do you want to destroy our family? I will forgive you if you forgive me. But if you insist on continuing with this, if you testify against me, if you put me in jail, you will regret it. I have lawyers. I have resources. I am going to fight for custody. I am going to prove you are an unstable mother, that you have mental problems, that you are unfit, and I will win. Because I always win. The choice is yours, Emily. Family or war, M. The silence that followed was terrifying. Emily was trembling. He is threatening me, even from jail. Yes. What if he is right? What if he takes the kids away? He won't. How do you know? Because now you have evidence. You have photos. You have testimonies. You have his own letter admitting he lost control and threatening you. This is legal gold, daughter. This demonstrates pattern of abuse and intimidating behavior. Emily breathed deep, folded the letter carefully, put it in her purse. You are right. I am not afraid anymore. Are you sure? Yes. Her voice was firm now. I am not going to let him control me anymore. Not with threats, not with manipulation, not with anything. We finished packing. 3 large suitcases, 2 boxes of documents, the photo albums. The officers helped us load everything into the car before leaving. Emily stood at the entrance, looking at the house one last time. Do you want to go in again? I asked. No, I just want to remember it, so I never forget, so I never return. She took something out of her pocket, the house key. She left it on the mailbox at the entrance. I don't need it anymore, she said, and got into the car. We drove back in silence, but it was a different silence. It wasn't the silence of fear, it was the silence of transformation. My daughter had entered that house as a victim for the last time and had left as a survivor. That night, while Matthew slept and Emily rested, I received a message from Karen. Nancy? Michael paid bail. He gets out tomorrow. I felt a chill, but immediately sent another message. We are ready. Let him come. We aren't afraid of him anymore. And it was true, because this time we had something he didn't expect. Evidence, determination, and the truth on our side. Justice would be slow, but it would come. Michael got out of jail on a Friday afternoon. I knew because the security cameras at my house captured an unknown car, passing slowly in front of the entrance. 3 times. It didn't stop, didn't ring the bell, no one got out. But the message was clear. I know where you are. Emily saw the recordings and turned pale. He is violating the restraining order. Technically, no, explained Karen on the phone. The order specifies he can't approach within 500 meters. If he just passed by on the street without stopping, it is in a gray area. Gray area. He is intimidating us. I know, but we need more solid evidence. For now, document everything. Every suspicious car, every strange call, every movement. And that is what we did. During the following weeks, we lived in a state of constant alert. Every noise made us jump. Every car that passed made us nervous. Matthew had nightmares every night. He woke up screaming, looking for his mother. Emily slept with him, hugging him, whispering that everything would be fine. But I saw the tiredness in her eyes, the weight of living with fear. Then the messages started, not directly to Emily. That would have clearly violated the restraining order, but through other people. Her mother-in-law, Mrs. Linda, called her one day. Emily put the phone on speaker so I could hear. Emily, please, Michael is destroyed. He doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he just cries. Mrs. Linda, with all due respect, your son almost killed me. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake, but he regrets it. He is going to intensive therapy 2 times a week. He is taking medication. He is doing everything possible to change. I am glad he is receiving help, but that doesn't change what he did. Emily, think of your children. Matthew needs his father, and that baby you are expecting will also need him. My children need a living mother, and that is what I am going to give them. Don't be cruel, Emily. Don't destroy my son's life for a moment of weakness. A moment. It was years, Mrs. Linda. Years of abuse that you saw and never said anything. Silence on the other end of the line. "Because I know what marriages are like," said Mrs. Linda finally with a broken voice. "I know sometimes men lose control, but a good wife knows how to handle them, how to calm them, how not to provoke them. Listen to what you are saying. You are justifying violence. I am being realistic. That is how the world is, Emily. If all women reported their husbands, there wouldn't be any intact family left. Then maybe it is time for the world to change." Emily hung up, trembling with rage. 50 years, she said. 50 years believing abuse is normal, that it is her fault, that she must endure it. "And that is why what you are doing is so important," I told her. "You are breaking the cycle." Days passed. The trial approached. The prosecutor kept us informed of the process. Michael's legal team is looking for a deal. They offer to reduce charges to simple assault in exchange for Emily withdrawing testimony on attempted homicide. "No," replied Emily without hesitation. "No deals. I want a full trial." "Are you sure the trial will be public? The media will be present. Your private life will be exposed." "Let them expose it. Maybe that way other women find the courage to leave." I felt so proud of my daughter in that moment. But Michael didn't stay still. He started a campaign on social media. Not directly, of course. That would also violate the restraining order. But his friends, his family, started posting messages, supporting Michael Mendez in these difficult times, a good man being destroyed by false accusations. Justice for Michael. They posted photos of him with Matthew, old videos of family birthdays, images that made him look like the perfect father, the loving husband. The narrative was clear. Emily was the villain, the liar, the one destroying a perfect family. Some strangers started writing messages to Emily. "Hope you are ashamed. You are a bad mother. You are taking the father away from your children on a whim." Emily read every message with tears in her eyes. "Mom, what if they are right? What if I am being selfish?" "No, listen to me. Those people don't know what you lived. They didn't see the marks. They didn't hear the threats. They didn't feel his hands on your neck. You know the truth, and that is the only thing that matters. But Matthew asks for his father, says he misses him. It is normal, but with time he will understand. He will understand that what you did was for love, to protect him." One night, 2 weeks before the trial, I received a call. It was Mr. Robert. "Nancy, we need to talk." "I have nothing to talk about with you. It is about my grandson's future." I hesitated. Then I accepted. "Okay, tomorrow, in a public place. I choose where." "As you wish." We met at a coffee shop in broad daylight with people around. Mr. Robert arrived alone, without his wife, without lawyers. He looked older than I remembered, tired, defeated. He sat in front of me. "Thanks for coming." "What do you want, Mr. Robert?" "I want us to talk like reasonable people, without lawyers, without judges, just you and me. Speak." He sighed deeply. "Michael is my only son. I raised him as I could. I gave him everything, education, opportunities, values." "Values? What values did you teach him? That women are property, that violence is acceptable?" He stopped. "I taught him what my father taught me, that a man must be strong, that he must maintain control of his family. That is not control, it is abuse. Maybe," his voice broke, "maybe I was wrong. Maybe we raised a generation of men who confused strength with cruelty." I looked at him with surprise. I didn't expect that answer. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I saw the photographs, Nancy, the ones they presented at the preliminary hearing, and I saw my son in them. I saw what he did, and I saw myself." He took off his glasses and wiped his eyes. "For 50 years, I did the same to Linda. Not as severe, maybe, but I controlled her. I silenced her. I made her small, and she endured it because she believed she had no options. and now you regret it. I don't know if it is regret or shame, or simply the late realization that I was destroying the woman I loved. He kept silent for a moment. Linda is sick. Cancer. Stage 4. Doctors give her 6 months. I am sorry. Do you know what is the worst, that now that I know I'm going to lose her, I realize I never really knew her. I never asked her what she dreamed, what she wanted, who she was beyond being my wife. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I don't want Michael to end up like me, alone, full of remorse, losing his family out of pride. Then help him change for real, not paying expensive lawyers to free him, but helping him recognize what he did, to face the consequences, to heal. And Emily, would you give my son a chance if he really changes? That is not my decision. It is hers. But I can tell you something. True change doesn't come after legal threats. It comes from genuine recognition of harm caused. And so far, your son has only shown manipulation and victimization. Mr. Robert nodded slowly. You are right. So, what are you going to do? I don't know yet, but thanks for listening to me. He stood up to leave, but before doing so, he turned. Nancy, one more thing. Tell Emily I am sorry for applauding that night at the restaurant, for saying she had to know her place. I am ashamed of those words now. Tell her yourself, in a letter, without demands, without manipulation. Just an honest apology. I will do it. And he left. I told Emily about the conversation. Do you think he is sincere? She asked. I don't know, daughter, but at least it is a start. At least he recognized something is wrong. 2 weeks later, the day of the trial arrived. The room was full. Press, family members, curious people. Michael entered with an impeccable suit, hair combed, serious but controlled expression. Emily entered with a simple blue dress, without excessive makeup, without trying to hide anything. The marks on her face had already healed, but the invisible scars remained. The trial lasted 3 days. The prosecutor presented devastating evidence. The photographs Emily had kept for years, Jessica's testimony, the nanny, the medical reports from the hospital, the audio recording where Michael threatened to take the children away, the intimidating letter he left at the house, and finally, Emily's testimony. She went up to the stand with her right hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I swear. And she told her story, without crying, without drama, just the truth. Years of progressive abuse, of economic control, of social isolation, of physical and emotional violence, of the moment she felt his hands on her neck and thought she was going to die. The room was in absolute silence. Some reporters were crying. The jury listened with grave expressions. And Michael kept his gaze low. His lawyer tried to discredit the testimony. Isn't it true you provoked my client? No. Isn't it true you were also violent? Never. Isn't it true you are lying to gain advantage in the divorce? I am not lying and I don't need to lie. The truth is enough. The lawyer couldn't break her. Then it was Michael's turn to testify. He went up to the stand with confidence, but when the prosecutor started interrogating him, something changed. Mr. Mendez, do you recognize these photographs? She showed him the images of Emily with bruises. Yes. Did you cause these injuries? Silence. Mr. Mendez, answer the question. I sometimes lost control. Did you lose control or choose to be violent? It was stress. Work pressure. She didn't understand. So you blame the victim. No, I assume responsibility for my actions. Is that why you sent this letter threatening her? She showed him the letter. Michael turned pale. I was angry. You were intimidating a witness. That is a federal crime. His lawyer stood up. Objection. Denied. The witness will answer. Michael was crumbling in front of everyone, and I realized something. Abusers are brave only when they have power. When that power disappears, only cowardice remains. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their verdict was unanimous. Guilty of aggravated domestic assault, guilty of attempted homicide, guilty of witness intimidation. The sentence was handed down 2 weeks later, 8 years in prison, without possibility of sentence reduction, permanent restraining order, loss of custody, supervised visits only if Matthew growing up wished to have contact. Michael heard the sentence without expression. Then, just before being handcuffed, he turned toward Emily. "Someday you will understand that everything I did was because I loved you too much." Emily looked him directly in the eyes, and with a firm, clear voice without trembling. She replied, "Love does not hurt. What you felt wasn't love. It was possession. And never again will I allow anyone to confuse the two things for me." Those were the last words they exchanged. They took him out of the room, and Emily breathed. For the first time in years, she breathed without fear, outside the courthouse. The media waited. Emily gave a brief statement. "My name is Emily Caldwell. For years I was a victim of domestic violence. I kept silent out of shame, out of fear, out of believing it was my fault. Today I am here, alive, because I finally found the courage to leave, because I had my mother holding me, because I understood my children deserved to see a strong mother, not destroyed. If there is a woman listening to me now who is in a similar situation, you are not alone. It is not your fault. And yes, you can get out. It is hard. It is terrifying. But it is possible. And it is worth it." The cameras captured everything. The next day, her testimony was national news. Emily became a trend. Thousands of women shared their own stories. Many found the courage to report. Shelters reported increase in calls for help. My daughter had become a symbol. She didn't seek it, but she accepted it with dignity. Months passed. Emily gave birth to a girl. She named her Victoria, for the victory she finally found. Matthew started therapy. Slowly, the nightmares decreased. He went back to laughing, to playing, to being a child. Mr. Robert kept his word. He sent a letter apologizing. And more importantly, he stopped defending Michael publicly. He focused on caring for Mrs. Linda in her last months. When she passed away, Emily attended the funeral, not for Michael, but for that woman who had lived 50 years in silence, because she too had been a victim, and 1 year after the trial. Something extraordinary happened. Mr. Robert published an article in the newspaper. It was titled, "A Father's Letter to His Imprisoned Son." In it, he publicly recognized how he had raised Michael with toxic values, how he had normalized control and domination, how he had applauded abuse believing it was discipline. "I was wrong," he wrote, "and my son paid the price, but more than anyone. The women around us paid it. To all fathers, teach your sons that true masculinity is not domination. It is respect. It is empathy. It is recognizing when they are wrong and having the courage to change." The article went viral, and Emily, reading it, cried, not of sadness, but of hope. Because if a 70-year-old man could recognize his mistake, if he could change his perspective after a lifetime, then there was hope for new generations. "Do you think Michael changes someday?" Emily asked me one night while breastfeeding Victoria. "I don't know, daughter. Maybe yes, maybe no. But it is no longer your responsibility to save him." "I know. I just hope someday he really understands the damage he caused. Not for me, but for Matthew. So if someday they reunite, it be as different men." "It could be. And if not," she kissed Victoria's head, "at least my children will grow up knowing abuse is not tolerated, that women deserve respect, that true love doesn't hurt. That is the best revenge," I told her. "Breaking the cycle." She smiled, and in that smile I saw everything she had lost and everything she had gained. Because justice is not always fast, But when it arrives, it restores something more than legality. It restores dignity. It restores hope. It restores the belief that good eventually prevails, and that those who cause pain eventually face the consequences of their acts, not out of revenge, but out of balance, out of natural karma, because that is how the universe works. What you sow, you reap. And Michael had sown violence. Now he reaped loneliness, rejection, and the weight of his own decisions, while Emily had sown courage and was reaping peace. 3 years have passed since that night at the restaurant. 3 years since I stood up from that table and decided the silence was over. Today is Sunday. The sun enters through my kitchen window, illuminating the table where Matthew draws with crayons, while Victoria, 2 years old, tries to steal his colors. Emily prepares coffee. She moves with a tranquility I thought I would never see again. She no longer wears long sleeves in summer. She no longer constantly checks her phone with anxiety. She no longer apologizes for existing. She resumed her career as an architect. She works from home, designing spaces that, as she says, make people feel safe. Matthew is 6 years old now. He goes to therapy once a month, not every week anymore. The nightmares disappeared a year ago. Recently, he asked me about his father. "Grandma, was Daddy bad?" I knelt to his height. "Your daddy did bad things, but that doesn't mean he didn't love you. It just means he was lost and hurt the people he loved." And am I going to be like him when I grow up? No, my love, because you already know something that took him many years to learn. That strong men are the ones who protect, not the ones who hurt. He nodded and kept playing. But I know those questions will return, and we will be ready to answer them. Michael serves his sentence in a prison 3 hours from here. He has written letters, many letters. The first ones were manipulative, full of self-justification. Emily read them and kept them without answering. But 6 months ago, something changed. A different letter arrived. "Emily, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to even read this. But after 3 years in mandatory therapy, after rehabilitation groups for aggressors, after much silence and reflection, finally I understand. I understand what I did to you wasn't love. It was control. It was abuse. It was the result of believing I had rights over you. I was educated to think being a man meant dominating, and when you showed strength, I saw it as defiance, as a threat. I was wrong. I am not asking you for anything. I don't expect another chance. I don't want you to return, nor forgive me. I just want you to know I assume complete responsibility for the damage I caused, and that if someday, when Matthew is older and wants to know me, I will be honest with him about my mistakes, so he learns from them, so he doesn't repeat them. I wish you peace. M. Emily showed me the letter. "Do you think he is sincere?" she asked. "I don't know, but even if he is, that changes nothing. Forgiveness is yours to give or not give, and you don't owe him anything." "I know, but I think for the first time I can let go of the anger." "Does that mean you forgive him?" "No. It means I no longer give him power over my life. He makes his decisions and lives with the consequences. I make mine and build my future. And that is exactly what she has done. Mr. Robert visits us occasionally. He is no longer the arrogant man I knew. Linda's death changed him deeply. Now he dedicates his time to giving talks in universities about toxic masculinity and conscious parenting. If I can prevent a single father from raising his son like I raised mine, he told me once, I will have done something good with the time I have left. This morning, while we drink coffee, Emily looks at me with those eyes that now shine with their own light. "Mom, did I tell you they offered me a new project?" "Which one?" "Designing a shelter for women victims of domestic violence, with safe spaces, play areas for children, therapy offices. They want it to be a place where women can heal." "Daughter, that is perfect. Remember when I was a girl and built that birdhouse? Of course I do. I said birds needed a safe place. I think all my life I wanted to create those places. But I had to learn first that I also deserved one. She takes my hand. Thanks, Mom, for never giving up, for being there when I finally could get out, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Daughter, you did the hard work. I only held the door open. But without that open door, I wouldn't have known where to go. We hug. And in that hug is everything. The pain of the past, the strength of the present, the hope of the future. Matthew approaches with a drawing. Mommy, look, it is our family. In the drawing, there are 3 figures. Him, Victoria, and Emily, and a big house with bright windows and a huge sun. It is beautiful, my love. See, this house has many windows, so lots of light enters, because in the light there is no fear. Emily looks at me with tears in her eyes. Even the children understand. Darkness was where they lived, but light is where they are healing. Outside, the garden blooms. The roses we planted last year are more beautiful than ever. Red, yellow, pink, full of life, like us. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, to find the courage to leave, to understand she deserves love without pain, then every tear, every moment of fear, every sleepless night will have been worth it, because silence kills, but truth liberates. And sometimes, all we need is an extended hand, an open door, a voice that says, I believe you. You are not alone. You can get out. I was that voice for my daughter. Will you be that voice for someone else justice arrived, not as revenge, but as natural balance? Michael lost his liberty, his family, his reputation. Emily won her dignity, her peace, her future. And we learned that true love doesn't control, doesn't hurt, doesn't destroy. True love liberates, protects, builds. This is my story, the story of a mother who didn't give up and of a daughter who found the courage to fly. Thanks for listening to me until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and activate the bell to listen to more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Elderly stories, every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes, a story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and until next time,